Okay, it's there. Hi, my name is Vera de Pont. I'm a recent graduate from the Design Academy in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. So I understand a bit of the Afrikaans that's been spoken here. And I've talked to many taxi drivers there. I graduated with 2 fashion-related projects there, of which I will show you one that I'm wearing, and one that is shown here. I'm not trained as a traditional fashion designer. I would say I'm just a designer with a background in medical sciences and photography. So if I would have to explain what I do, I try to bridge designer and consumer, and my work revolves around the human body. And currently, I'm doing a 2-year master's research on future fashion in Amsterdam. So while I'm not trained as a traditional fashion designer, I did do my internship at an independent fashion designer's studio in Antwerp, in Belgium. And here I really got to experience the ins and outs of what it means to be in the fashion industry. And I was working in a very small team, really involved in production, manufacturing, talking with press. I was working on 3 collections at the same time. So while I thought I was going to be this, like unlimited in imagination and creation, I was actually this. So I was mostly looking like I was sleeping, and now I'm kind of regretting I put this in. But my whole research from there started at this internship. It has nothing to do necessarily with this specific studio, but the fashion industry in general. Because the fashion industry is very widely spread. A garment often goes through several steps before it ends up in the hands of a consumer, up to 7 times. And basically I got frustrated with the lack of communication with the people that wear it, the users, and this enormous spreading over multiple countries. And so basically, I will show you an example. What I experienced actually during my internship is 7 steps for a t-shirt. 7 times it's being transported. So, for example, the material can be sourced at Première Vision. It will be produced in Italy, for example. We will come back to the design studio. Then we will ship it to the sewing factory. If there's a button on it, sometimes they don't have the machines for it. It has to go to another factory. It will come back again to the design studio, pack it neatly, send it to the store, and then you have your garment and you can buy it. So, as I said before, this frustrated me. I think we're living in a society where we can have an open approach to production and consumption, especially for fashion, because we're still the 2nd biggest polluting industry, I believe, in the world. But my focus was really on bridging designer and consumer. So I was thinking, why can't we skip this whole sewing process and just have a textile that when it comes from the weaving loom, the pattern is already in it, and you can just cut it out, you don't need to sew, and it just drapes over you. So that's also what I'm wearing today. So the idea of something that is 3D, or that is flat, and will go to 3D, you just have to cut it out. And I added some dramatic music for the effect. Yeah, so this is also one of the patterns of one of the codes, but this is not the final design, it was just a test. But now I will introduce you to my graduation project, which is called Pop Up, and I called it that because it's basically a piece of textile that easily transforms into a coat of your choosing. I made 5 designs, and on the left here you see basically the design of one of the textiles. It has 2 patterns in it, but I will explain later. And on the right you see one of the cutouts, and here you see her wearing it, so I'm also wearing it here. So I really wanted to also focus on local production. So for this I worked together with a weaving company in Hezen called EE Labels, so it's in Holland. Because the tricky part was, if you want to weave something and cut it immediately, it will start to fringe, as you can see on the left. That was the original fabric. So I kind of intervened in the process of the production, because normally woven fabric goes immediately over a heat roll. I couldn't do that because actually I added melting yarns in it, so that's also why it doesn't fringe on the right. And this you can, after you cut it, you would go over it with the iron, and it will still be flexible, completely flexible, just has a little shine to it, and it seals the sides, thankfully. So when it comes off the loom, or it looks like this, it's immediately wearable, actually. So this is what the woven one looks like, because I made 2 versions. And this one is reversible, because I always really love the backside of fabrics, and I find it a pity that it's not used. So I made it also very tightly woven, so it could be worn both ways. And I kind of researched also the idea of a sleeve here, but it's That's really important. So I'm also wearing the silk screened one, which you may not can see from that far away. But this one has been made non-fringeable by foil, which I heat pressed on the fabric. So it's a different application, but it works the same way. You can still cut it. And I will show you now. So then there are two designs in here. So I do present you with two options in this case. One is a shorter version, which is this one, and you can cut it out. So you kind of follow the light blue lines. The other one is the dark blue line, and the neon again is the finishing on the fabric. So you can also choose that one. So as a consumer, you buy my textile, and you can choose which one of the two you want to wear. So two options. And this is her wearing it. After doing this project, this was really the start of it. I started to ask more bigger questions regarding fashion, and that's why I entered also a 2-year master's research program at the Sandberg Institute in Amsterdam, because there I learned all about sustainability, which is a very big nonsense word, and how much waste we actually produce. And I was thinking, why can't we completely change actually the system of fashion? So I thankfully was invited by a fellow designer, Martijn van Strien, who is also Dutch and is thinking of ways to innovate the fashion system, to work together on a fashion manifesto, which is called the Open Source Fashion Manifesto. And it's basically speaking from fashion to whoever is involved. So it's all of us, consumers, buyers, sellers, businesses. I think fashion is creating its own dominant conditions, and therefore other options aren't really workable. I see many concepts arise, but none really work or are applicable in the current economical structure or business. So maybe we need to think of a new business model, I don't know, or a completely new economical structure. We have all these ideas and visions that we kind of say in this book. The overall idea of this book is that we believe fashion is becoming multidisciplinary, which we also saw in a presentation yesterday. It's starting to overlap with bioengineering, computer technology. Maybe fashion is going to become completely downloadable, completely open source, because that's what this manifesto is based on the principles of open source. So something that can be adjusted by anyone, shared with anyone. So then my role would also change, of course, as a designer. I would maybe become more a facilitator that pushes you into the right direction or guides you. A connector, because I will be working, I also prefer to work in a team of specialized people, which are not in my field. So if you want to read this, because you can download it, because it's open source. This is the website, opensourcefashionmanifesto.com, and that's where I would like to end it. So I would say thank you, and please visit my website.